lectured by Associate Professor Bayo Fasulo. Today we will be looking at the objectives of the study, which are, first, we are going to examine the various strategies put in place for the formation and implementation in the country's foreign policy, which is the Nigerian foreign policy, between 1999 and 2007. Also, we will assess the degree of achievement or failure of Obasanjo's foreign policy during the period under review. And lastly, we are going to explain how Obasanjo's economic diplomacy undermines the standard of living of Nigerians. Okay, so we are going to be talking about the method used for this research, and the method was secondary data, where we consulted journals, magazines, textbooks, newspapers, etc. And I would like to tell you all that this work, this study is significant because it demonstrates the importance of the solution to the most of the challenges Nigerian politics and foreign policy under Obasanjo's civilian administration between 1999 and 2007. And also to propose solutions which will help other administrations to improve human conditions, especially in Nigeria. And this research will also change the way people think about the status of Nigeria as a giant of Africa, which plays a major role in peacekeeping operations in Africa. It will also add to existing literature and further studies and overview of the study. And also, let's talk about the theories used in this research. We use the system theory and the power theory. Those are the two major theories that was used in this research. I'd like to start with an overview of this study, which was before Nigeria became a civilian administration. That was when it was under the military and under the regime of Sani Abacha. And then Abacha had actually disfigured the face of Nigeria in the international level. So Abacha had done a lot of things due to the fact that under the international level, the military does not really have a say, a democratic setting where other people were practicing democracy, where their citizens had freedom. So on the assumption of office as president, Obasanjo made diplomatic moves to redeem the battered and shattered image of the country, which was a result of the unending transition to democracy. Also, increase in abuse of fundamental human rights and the regular killings of innocent citizens in the 1990s. The return of however, the return to democracy and Obasanjo's shuttle diplomacy sanctions placed on Nigeria were removed. That was because we were practicing a democratic government. So when it came back as a democratic government, all the sanctions that was placed on Nigeria was removed during the Obasanjo civilian administration. And as a part of Nigeria's commitment to make Africa the centerpiece of the country's foreign policy, Obasanjo continued with the Nigerian leading role in the maintenance of peace and conflict. Obasanjo continued with the Nigerian leading role in the maintenance of peace and conflict resolution in Liberia, Sierra Leone, Togo, and Sudan. Obasanjo played a significant role in maintaining peace, which is one of Nigeria's foreign policies, maintaining peace, being a centerpiece for African nations. So they tried to maintain that distance, they tried to maintain that peace. During the war of Liberia, which we are still going to talk about, in Sierra Leone, in Sudan, Nigeria played a major role under the administration of Obasanjo in maintaining that peace within African countries. It will be redeemed in order to encourage and promote foreign direct investment in Nigeria. Political system is a set of elements in constant interaction where the homeostasis of the system is maintained by a balance of the input and output variables of the system. To talk about this in a simple term is that system theory talks about the interaction of the government between the government and the people. We have input, we have output, we have support, we have demand. talking about the system theory. So this is like an interaction, the way they interact. Now the input are like, okay, this is what the people want. You understand? This is what we want, this is what we are clamoring for, this is what we want the people to do. The input are like the people, they are demanding for the support of the government. Then the output is the government, okay, the output is, have we done it? Have they done what they are supposed to do? Okay, this is what we brought out for the people. Are they satisfied by it? Which is the outcome. We also have outcome. You understand? So we have the demand, the support. Then when the people are satisfied, they either support the government or place a demand on the government again. So when using this theory, Obasanjo experienced this input-output matrix of the system analysis. Obasanjo's reform policies, removal of oil subsidies, some relationship with the legislature, and exclusive nature of the political space under his tenure were but some of the input of his tenure and policies into the Nigerian political system. The response now is the input, like, okay, no, the response is not the input. The response is output, like the outcome of what the government has done. So the response by Nigeria was sharp and uncomplimentary, leading to a severe disagreement over eating of the policy and industrial disharmony. To that extent, Nigeria's political system remained entropic and tension-laden. The implication is that when there is imbalance on the political input-output relationship in any system, the system is bound to experience disorder or chaos. Now, to explain this in a simpler term is that when Obasanjo had given out, okay, this is what the people were clamoring for, this is what you did. The people didn't support him. They did what? They demanded again, because the demand they didn't support him. The comment he got was not complimentary. It was not enticing enough. So it caused a lot of disharmony, disunity, and he's trying to say that a system that can't balance the input and output together will result in chaos and disorder. As a result of these findings, therefore, the study concludes that the economic diplomacy of Obasanjo administration did not enhance Nigeria's economic development as was envisaged by the administration. While the debt cancellation deals relieve Nigeria of every strangulating debt services obligations, it has been rightly argued that it came at great cost considering the odious nature of those debts. Thank you very much.
Good day, everyone. My name is Oturuku Samuel Adewumi from Department of Political Science. I'm speaking on behalf of three departments: Department of Political Science, Department of Political Science Education, and Department of Public Administration. We are 400 level. We are speaking on a project topic before us: Muritala and Obasanjo foreign policy. That is the foreign policy of 1975 to 1979. Then, if you are talking about foreign policy, what is the meaning of foreign policy? The word policy means the action and action of a government in a country. Then if you are talking about foreign is from the French word foreign, which means outside. Then foreign policy means the action and action of a government in the outside of a border. Then if you are talking about foreign policy, before any country can evolve in foreign policy, there is some factor that must determine its own foreign policy. Number one factor is national interest. Every country must consider its own national interest before they enter into any foreign policy with another nation. Then number two is the structure of a nation. Every country has to consider the structure of its own nation. You cannot just enter into a policy. And number three is the location. You must consider the location of your country, maybe small country or big country. Then the next thing to consider your political structure. You must look at the structure of your politics. Maybe you are a democratic or not democratic. And the next thing you must consider is your political leader. The leader of a country determines the kind of foreign policy that such a country will have. On an example, if the leader is Muslim, maybe religiotica, you cannot expect such a leader to have a foreign policy with another country that are not. Then we must also consider our military power. Our military capacity is one of the factors that we must consider before we can make any foreign policy. Then the next thing is our demography. We must consider the level of our country, the numbers of ethnicity, those people that are there, maybe it is multi-ethnic or bilateral or a single. And the next thing, we have to consider our domestic factor. In Muritala Obasanjo foreign policy, they consider all those things before they made their foreign policy. October 1st of 1960, Nigeria got independent, but got it to January 15th of 1960, military intervened to our policies. That is when Aguiyi Ironsi is made to be the head of state. But got into on 29th of July 1966, then Gowon came to power. And after when Aguiyi Ironsi was killed, and the next thing is that we have civil war, a lot of civil war that happened, whereby Gowon promised Nigeria that he will release power to the civilian on got it to 1976. But on got it to 1974, Gowon said that he won't release power anymore because he has a lot of things to still do. This Muritala Muhammad came on power, seeing Gowon as someone that is not truthful, that he promised Nigeria but he didn't fulfill it. So on got to July 29th of 1975, Muritala Muhammad came on power, and Obasanjo is possible to be his vice. But on got it, there is a coup that happened. That is unsuccessful coup. That is the one that occurred that Sukadika caused. This one terminated the life of Muritala Muhammad in on 13th of February 1976. And on 14th of that February 1976, Obasanjo took in charge of the government, and he said that his own foreign policy will still control, will still centralize on what his boss have laid already. And if you are talking about Obasanjo foreign policy and Muritala, we must understand how it's centralized. And the central principle of Muritala and Obasanjo foreign policy is that they should make Africa to be the centerpiece. Though Africa's centerpiece have been our foreign policy right from the time of the first Prime Minister of Nigeria, that is Tafawa Balewa. But this very administration of Muritala Obasanjo trying to fulfill this promise by making Africa our real center foreign policy. So Muritala Obasanjo foreign policy was subdivided into two. We have bilateral relationship and we have multilateral relationship. If you are talking about bilateral relationship, that is relationship that Nigeria have with another country, maybe two countries, maybe Nigeria with Angola or any other country. And the multilateral relationship is talking about the relationship that Nigeria will have with three or more countries, usually an organization, maybe OAU or ECOWAS. So I will start from bilateral relationship. The first bilateral relationship that we have is with Angola. That is how Nigeria started trying to solve the problem that Angola is facing during the time of protest and during the time that they are looking for the independence by supporting the organization, by supporting the party that we call MPLA. That is Population Movement of the Liberation of Angola. And the number two, we are talking, that is 1975. And number two, we are talking about the relationship between South Africa. That is how Nigeria tried to stop the issue of apartheid in South Africa, and how Nigeria got asylum to this very man, the former president of South Africa, that is Nelson Mandela and his vice. Also Nigeria relationship with Rhodesia, by how they stop and political crisis that is going in order to terminate the European intervention. And we also have relationship with United States of America. We are made to understand that right from the time of military intervention, United States of America did not allow any Nigerian leader to come to America. But during the time of Muritala and Obasanjo have the access to travel to United States of America without any interruption, because we have what we taste then, that is power. Then we have economic power due to the oil boom system and a lot of things. Going to our multilateral relationship, that one is talking about relationship with different countries, maybe 4 or more countries. E.g., we make use of OAU, that is Organization of African Union. We have a lot of relationship with OAU. By making OAU, through OAU, we solve a lot of problems that we have. By using OAU as an organization or as an instrument in entry to another country to solve their problem or to do one or two things. It's not that we are using OAU as an organ to violating their sovereignty rights, but we are trying to fulfill our national interest. Also, we make use of ECOWAS. ECOWAS is one of the organizations created in 1975 during the time of Muritala and Obasanjo. And this ECOWAS, helped Nigeria to fulfill a lot of role by lifting up some other African countries so we can grow to a developed level. What our theoretical framework? Theoretical framework is talking about how we use theory to explain our work. Then we make use of the first theory, that is dependency theory. This dependency theory is a theory that we made in order to counter against the European theory that we call modernization theory. Modernization theory believed that Africa did not develop because we did associate or integrate ourselves with European leaders or European countries. But the dependency theory came on board to counter against it, that said that Africa we didn't develop based on the fact that we integrate ourselves with Europeans. That is why we didn't develop. They are not exploiting our raw material. Therefore, we use this thing to explain our work by seeing that this African, we're trying to stand on our own and make Africa our centerpiece by not depending on any European or for any help or any other thing. Then also, we make use of structural realist theory. This is the theory that's made by Amogetan that trying to explain that for any nation to survive in international arena, they need power. Power is only commodity that we can use to purchase anything in international arena. Everything that Nigeria did during the foreign policy of Muritala Obasanjo is through the power that they have, and the power is determined by those three factors. That is economical power, political power, and military power. Then we have economic power that helps us, we have military, and we also have a political power. Then we move on to our chapter 3. Our chapter 3 deals with methodology. That is the method that we use in conducting our research or getting the information. We will make use of historical analysis as our method. That is the method. And we make use of our data. Our data is a secondary source of data. We conducting and we see those data through internet, through news, through articles, etc. to getting the information. And our population, we make use of world as a whole, as a population, and Africa as a whole. But our sample out of that population, we make use of Angola as a sample, we make use of South Africa, we make use of Rhodesia, we make use of United States of America, we make use of OAU and Organization of Africa. Our chapter 4 deals with data presentation and analysis. It's talking about we analyze our data, and we are trying to analyze this by making use of table. We are used table to explain it. Number one, we are made to understand that the country, we have the table that stated the country, the years, the mode of relationship and the role. Number one is Angola, 1975. And the mode of relationship is Afrocentrism. How we support them, we have the South Africa during 1977. How we also help them in terms of Africa, in terms of apathy. We also have Rhodesia. How we help them in order to stop the external influence on that country. And the next relationship, we are talking about the United States of America. How Nigeria has access to travel there. We have that is not Africa state. But nevertheless, if you consider those things, we see that Africa is trying to fulfill the aims and objectives of their foreign policy in making Africa the centerpiece. We see all those countries that Africa plays this foreign policy with. They are all African countries, majorly. In our conclusion, we made people to understand that this project clearly stated that Africa will pursue our national interests and we also pursue our own aims and objectives in this very foreign policy. What are the recommendations? The recommendation is that Africa should accept the principle of no alignment with any other country, maybe with those blocks country, maybe in terms of war or anything, and adoption of a legal equality of its states. We must assume that every state they have their equal rights. Thank you.
My name is Oduletola Joshua from Adekunle Ajasin University, Akungba, Ondo State, Nigeria. I'm here to present a topic on Gowon policy, thoughts under the course title of Nigerian Foreign Policy. The course code is post 409, taken by an associate professor, the person of Bayo Fashion. Now, before I proceed, I would like to define what constitutes the basis of foreign policy. But before I define foreign policy, firstly, what is policy? When we talk about policy, it's just a set of ideas. It is a plan that has to do with a particular situation, which has been agreed together officially by a group of people, individual, business organization, government, or political party. That is according to Cambridge Dictionary 2016. Now, when we look at the concept of foreign policy in this category, it deals with the security, it deals with the defense, interaction that exists among different countries and their international economic situation. When we look at foreign policy is an interaction between actors in international organization and with another actor in international organization. Now, different perspective of scholars are giving different definition to the concept of foreign policy. Now, our research work, which is on Gowon foreign policy. So, on this research work, we are going to look at the history of Gowon policy. We are going to look at the statements of the problem, we are going to look at the objective of the study. Then we are going to look at the methodology in which we adapt in collecting and analyzing data in order to get this research work completed. So now, when we look at Gowon foreign policy, this policy came into board after the end of the First Republic, whereby a coup was led that put an end to the First Republic we have, which is Tafawa Balewa foreign policy as at 1960 to 1966. Now, after that coup, it brought after this coup, we have another era, which is the era of Agu Ironsi, and this man was able to spend just six months when another coup was led, and this brought Gowon into what? Into politics. So during this process, we can see that Nigeria came into board. We have another foreign policy, which is what? Which is different from the first policy we are having, which is the Gowon policy. We can see that this Gowon policy took another dimension. There is new intake in this era of Gowon foreign policy. We can see there is he left the pro-British, pro-West that the Tafawa Balewa practice. So he came on board to pursue his own alignment. So he come into board to do what? To proceed his own alignment. When we look at this research work, during the research work, we make use of some secondary method in the collection of our data, whereby we make use of several journals, we make use of the website, also we make use of newspaper and etc. So now I end it with the method in which we use to collect data. Now when we look at the research work, we are meant to know specific objective in the research work. Number one, we analyze Gowon foreign policy, the interest in Nigeria. Apart from that, we look at it that we also examine the impact of Gowon foreign policy in Nigeria. So now, when we look at the interest of Nigeria and of Gowon foreign policy in Nigeria and its impact, we can see that during the Biafra War, we can see that British took a lukewarm attitude, whereby they are not able to supply the Nigeria with the available weapon in which they can use in order to stop the crisis. Now we can also see that Gowon policy, it made use of the available resources, and it consults another country in order to do what? To overcome this crisis. Looking at this foreign policy, and when we look at this research, we can see that the research has made us to know that Gowon foreign policy took another dimension in which it has helped Nigeria in making Nigeria the central piece of African foreign policy. Nigeria rose, and Gowon foreign policy precisely took a vital stand in the development of Nigeria in Nigerian interest in international system. In addition, Gowon foreign policy is central mainly in Africa, in order to develop Africa. So we can also say Gowon foreign policy is pan-Africa. Is pan-Africa. Now I will go to analyze the literature review, which is chapter 2, and now when we look at it, and also conceptual clarification, we can see that when we look at this foreign policy does not have, according to our research, did not have a certain word or universal word definition. We can see that diverse scholars, diverse jurists from different jurisdictions has given definition to the concept of what? Of foreign policy. Now, when we look at foreign policy, this policy makes us to know that despite the fact the first regime was based on the pro-West, we can see that at the time of crisis, these people were not able to do what? To help Nigeria. The Britain, they are not ready to support enough what? Ammunition. We can see that it is just because of this. It is with the help of France that helps. And then after that, France helped the Biafra secessionists so that they can break away from Nigeria. But due to the help of the Soviet Union, so they also helped Nigeria, that Nigeria should do what? Should stand as a single entity. This is the only people that support the unity of what? Of Nigeria, in order for Nigeria to be what? In harmony. So the Gowon foreign policy, it helps us to know that when we work with any other country, it is just because of our what? National interest. And when these things are not met, there is tendency of what? Of breaking, and there is tendency of what? Of not coming together again. Foreign policy also play a crucial role in the establishment of ECOWAS and assistance towards financial assistance to the OAU. When we look at this foreign policy, we can see that he has contributed a very huge impact, and his impact in the development of Africa is inevitable. So thank you for giving me an attentive delivery of this project. Thank you all, and may God bless you in Jesus' name.
My name is Adebola Ademola Vincent from Adekunle Ajasin University, Akugba Akoko, Ondo State, Nigeria. The title of the course is The Nigerian Foreign Policy, and the lecturer in charge is Professor Bayo Fashomo. On behalf of Ashivas Group, I'll be presenting a research topic titled The Nigeria's Contributions to African Economic Development. It is not against saying that no state can achieve its objective in relations with other nation states without foreign policy. Foreign policy, according to UNWA for 2004, can be defined as a country's principles of actions that regulate the relationship of the state with other states. Foreign policy basically seeks to promote, to protect, and to defend national interests such as political, economic, and social sector. It is on this note that the research seeks to explore the contributions of Nigerian towards the African economic development. In 1966 to 1969, it was witnessed that Nigerian played a prominent role in developing African economic development by exporting oil to other African states at a lesser price. It was also witnessed that Nigeria made it as a responsibility of relieving other African states from debt burden by sending a relief at the economic growth of Africa through good. Nigerian contributed tremendously by developing the economic growth of Africa through the formation of ECOWAS in 1975 and OAU in 1965. the research used dependent theory and independent theory. Dependent theory was propounded by Paul Rebish. Summarily was based on the assumption that the economic development in the research countries was based on the exploitations from the poorer countries. On this note, Nigeria's relations with other African states had a good relationship by developing other states with natural endowed resources. Also, using the independent theory, Nigeria played a dynamic foreign policy with other African states. The research used quantitative in carrying out its research, and also in sampling techniques. The research used random sampling techniques, in which comprises 150 population from Akure, and they were analyzed and codified in a well-structured manner. Findings revealed that high population of the respondents strongly agreed that Nigeria played a major role in African economic development, and also it was revealed in the findings that high population of the respondents supported that Nigerians were drivers of African economic development. Based on this, the research thereby recommended that there should be diversification of Nigerian economy if Nigerian will continue to be the leaders of Africa in terms of economic strength. Thank you.
I am Temitope Victor Adebusiwa. I am presenting on behalf of my group Harusi, which has worked on the topic Nigerian foreign policy as an instrument of national economic development. Since the independence of Nigeria in 1960, Nigerian foreign policy has been characterized with fight against apartheid, fight against colonialism, and fight against discrimination of blacks within the African continent and beyond. But something that we need to note here is that the importance of foreign policy, or the main goal behind every foreign policy, is to win some development economically, without which a country or a state can never be respected. Although Nigeria has been so far described as big brother of Africa, but since Nigeria has not been able to grow economically, we have not been able to win the respect as expected. This is consonant in the relationship of China with Africa, as China has been able to penetrate Africa economically. The purpose of that is to win some level of development economically. We also see this under Joe Biden, the leader of US, as US has suddenly reversed its foreign policy towards Africa. So in the case of Nigeria, it should not be exceptional, because foreign policy is for that development, and the development is the main important thing that can help us, even in the cultural, social, and the military aspect. So the objective of this study is to assess the role of Nigerian foreign policy on economic development, to evaluate the relationship of external economic assistance as a result of Nigerian foreign policy on economic development, and also to investigate the role played by Nigerian foreign policy through our relationship to other countries. We need to look at this historically, because this point will help us to know that even the foreign policy we mentioned today, it sometimes reflects the interests of a leader. Looking at it from 1963 to 1966, when Balewa was there as our leader, he believed that the relationship with the West is a good one, and then that the relationship with the communist East is a bad one. This was the legacy laid by the colonial masters before its own time. We also look at Agunyi Ironsi. Agunyi Ironsi, although he spent a very short time, but what he did was to continue on that thing that Balewa started. That was why he tried to work on the policy of non-alignment. Now we look at some other people like Yakubu Gowon, we have Muritala, 1975, and Obasanjo to 1979. And then after that one, we also have Shehu Shagari. We also have Muhammadu Buhari. After Muhammadu Buhari, we also have General Ibrahim Babangida. After General Ibrahim Babangida, we had the regime of General Sani Abacha. Under General Sani Abacha, another thing he did was, due to his own selfish interest, we see that what he did worked against Nigeria. It brought Nigeria to a very low level because of the abuse of power, indiscrimination, killings, and this one even made Nigeria to lose its position in the world. But when Abdulsalam Abubakar came into power, Abubakar tried to make some reconciliation with some other countries with which Abacha had built enmity. And then when the power was handed over to Olusegun Obasanjo in 1999, although Obasanjo was described as a traveling president, but the traveling was purposely to win the hearts of some other foreign countries, so as to help us in respect to our national economic development. The main important thing here is that we want to see that how can the foreign policy of Nigeria be geared up toward national economic development, and also to help our policymakers in terms of processing or making policies in a way that it can really enhance our national economic development. And we have this, that the prospect for this development can be the use of expertise in the process of formulation of our foreign policy, and then eradicate corruption and some other evil acts that is very common in Nigeria today, so as to enable this Nigeria to become a conducive place such that the foreigners can come here and establish, even for the citizens to be able to stay safe. And then this one will go far to enhance our economic development. We also need to take note that the instrument that can really help us in making this foreign policy has to do with that economic instrument, the military instrument, the cultural instrument, and the social instrument, which are very important. So our main goal here is to make sure that Nigeria is able to achieve its goal, which is development of the country. Despite of all what we have been trying in the past, although we have been able to record some success, but Nigeria has not been able to do what, to arrive at a point as expected. Nigerian foreign policy as an instrument of national economic development. According to the objectives stated earlier, Nigerian foreign policy and its role on economic development. Nigerian foreign policy has influenced economic development since 1960, but it has only been intrinsic and not necessary. The external economic assistance does aid Nigerian economic development. Yes, it does, and complements economic development, but the foreign policy and structure of Nigeria is not all that solid to attract economic development. Nigerian economic status helps in our economic development. Yes, also, Nigerian foreign policy has influenced economic development, but the structure of such foreign policy as it relates especially to economic assistance status and diplomacy is not well structured. So this is the conclusion. It was observed that Nigerian foreign policy has undergone several modifications and adjustments in the recent years. Though the country has witnessed several enviable agenda in foreign policy design, but the country is still behind in our developmental goals compared to a number of African states like South Africa and others. And as I've said earlier, the main objective of this is to make sure that the Nigerian foreign policy is geared towards economic development. So it is therefore important to note the important instruments that we need. We need economic instruments, we need military instruments, we need cultural and even social instruments. And we also have to ensure that Nigeria is made conducive for the foreigners and even the citizens of the country to dwell. The corruption must be eradicated, or rather reduced. Then the evils in the land, kidnapping, killing, and all sorts, should also stop. We have seen that in this present era, the era of Muhammadu Buhari, the foreign policy of Muhammadu Buhari seems to have been geared up towards things like religion conformity, like a relationship with some Islamic countries. And then we have seen that in this country now we don't have enough security. And then all this has been a very great challenge. And as we are looking at it, this one may end up bringing Nigeria back to the level that we don't hope to be. And so the purpose of this is to make sure that people learn from this, and then people are geared up towards initiations that can help us to formulate a kind of foreign policy that can enhance our development economically. And this one will take us to the level of being a great nation indeed, a big brother of Africa indeed, not just in paper, not just in wealth, but indeed we can be recognized and be respected. And I hope that if this is applied, it will be a thing of joy for this group, and then a thing of joy for the Adekunle Ajasin University and the Department of Political Science under the leadership of Dr. Bayo. Thank you so much.